Hello and welcome to When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. This is episode 65. Blimey, into our third season now, which seems incredible. Our third season, Aldershot's 13th season, which still blows my mind. 13th season in the National League, sorry. First point of call, I've just mentioned the National League. Morecambe's situation. It's an absolute disgrace, and I really hope it gets resolved before the 20th of August deadline for them to sell the club slash have proof of funds to survive the season and meet all the National League rules and deadlines. So they're currently suspended from the league, which does put our match at home to them on the August bank holiday. Woeful time to play Morecambe. Why are we asking them to come down on a bank holiday Monday all that way? Be that as it may, it's something like that. Hopefully, we can see the Shrimps fans down at the Rec for that game, and that will be the kind of hopefully the celebration that they are going to be in the National League this season. And listen, they might not have any players left. They may be playing youth team players, but I think the preservation of the club is obviously of paramount importance, and they'll always bounce back from National League North if they head that way, as long as it's under new ownership. So off you get, Whittingham. More about this episode. This episode 65, as I've mentioned, it's myself, Guy, and Ash on the podcast this evening. And we've also got some voice note clips from Julian and Charlie to feed in. And yeah, we go through kind of the new signings. So we mentioned Kiban Rai, who's joined from Newport County. So we've got a voice note from a Newport County fan and host of the 1912 Exiles podcast, which is the original, biggest and best, their words, not mine, Newport County podcast, where Kiban made 21 appearances over 2 seasons. So yeah, this episode is a preview of the season, the signings. We've got some predictions, which are kind of bonkers because I know practically nothing. I've not seen any preseason. I've just read things about players that we might have, and that's about it. So and then we talk about the actual game coming up, which is Altrincham away on Saturday, with a little preview of what to expect at Moss Lane. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, we're back again as the weeks roll on in the new season. So buckle up and get ready for the Tommy Witherington roller coaster version 3. Up the shots. So Aldershot are approaching their 13th straight season in the National League. They've now seen off the Skrill Premier. They've seen off Vanarama, and we now approach the Enterprise Rent-A-Car era. I'm still very disappointed it wasn't the nationwide National League, just to really bring out some lovely wordplay, especially when you get to the National League, the nationwide National League South and North. I suppose the first thing we'll do before I introduce, we've got Guy and Ash on the call, and we'll be giving our predictions and what we're looking forward to ahead of the season. I'll just go through the new signings that we've got and loan signings that we've got in so far, including the latest one, which came in just yesterday. So Josh Brooking from Dorking, asterisks on that until March, I imagine, with an Achilles rupture. Ben Jackson from Brighton, Ryan Hill from Dagenham, Matt Penny from Altrincham, Archie Taylor from Hampton and Richmond Borough, Tristan Abrahams from Maidenhead, Kiban Rai from Newport, Kwame Thomas from Ebbsfleet, and as I mentioned, Will Nightingale from AFC Wimbledon. Those are the permanent signings, and then we've got 2 loan signings so far, which are James Claridge from Watford on a season long and Jed Mearholes from Bristol City until January.
Hello folks, Jamie here from the 1912 Exiles Newport County podcast. Will's asked me to give you a quick lowdown on one of your summer signings, Kiban Rai. I think you've got a player there with heaps of promise. You know, he burst onto the scene as one of the lads showing potential in our youth setup and managed to get himself a debut in 2023. But yeah, in the rough and tumble of League Two, we don't tend to give all that much game time to youngsters unless we feel they can really make the step up. Over the course of his first year in the first team, he really showed glimpses of what he's capable of. You know, strong running, good technical ability, without ever really stamping his authority on a game. But at 18, you can let him off. And well, his first professional goal, which was a superb glancing header at the near post in a League Cup game against Brentford, gave us hope that he could, really become a mainstay. But yeah, we've struggled in League Two, needed to give old heads the games up top, so that left him with a loan to Merthyr, which started well for him as they eventually won the league, but it was unfortunately cut short by injury, and then, yeah, he was released at the end of the season. But honestly, with age and experience, I think he can really come on and prove himself. Perhaps National League is his level, who knows? But yeah, all the best for the season, guys, and yeah, look after our Kiban.
We received an injury update from the club yesterday, basically highlighting 10 players that we've got injured in the squad of 28. So we do have 18 fit footballers going into the start of the new season. Two of those are goalkeepers. I suppose, well, yeah, really one, but one of them is a goalkeeper. So some slight concerns or selection headaches for Tommy approaching Altrincham. So we'll get onto the Alti preview in a bit, but we'll stop me talking. I'll get Guy and Ash talking. So, Guy, general views on the upcoming season, I suppose, and what you're most looking forward to, or what games you're most looking forward to.
Yeah, well, thanks, Will. It's great being back, and given sort of the topsy-turvy nature of the season and the way they ended on a high last year, I mean, for me, it's very much going to be a case of are we, I'm very ple I'm looking forward to it, and what I've been really encouraged by is the signings that we have been making, and maybe it's becoming a bit of a stuck record, but the thing that I've always been saying throughout my time on the podcast over the last year is about the defense, and it really feels to me that the management has really focused on that this summer. Making those signings like Claridge and Penny, sadly with what you say about Brooking, but they really did seem to focus on that. And of course, then with this week, Will Nightingale joining us, I think that's really fantastic. I mean, I'm really looking forward to us becoming a lot more solid at the back. Um, you know, Obviously we've lost a few players, but we it was what was striking as well last year was how we were scoring goals from different parts of the field. My feeling at the time was that certainly in the first few months we were still trying to work out what the best combinations were with players. I'm wondering whether that's still going to be the case this time round as well, obviously because we've got the new players coming in. And okay, yes, there has been a pre-season to do that. So my question is, and you've mentioned as well that there's a number of injuries to this. So we may not necessarily be putting out our best 11 for the first few games. So it may well be a case of make do. Now, where are we going to be, come the end of April? I have a feeling, things feel to me that we're still in a state of rebuilding, that we really won't know how things are going until a few months into the season. But I'm leaning more towards mid-table than a push for promotion. But how we reach that, I don't know. It could be a mid-table where we pretty much find our ceiling, fairly early on, and we're fairly secure and it's stable, and then we focus on the cups. Or we have what happened last year, where we kind of finished to the lower end of mid-table, but we did plenty of things in between, flirting with promotion very briefly in the playoffs, but also flirting with relegation. Now, of course, which one do we want to go through? I don't think my heart can take the latter, but at the same time, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to just reach mid-table and have that be it for the season. So my feeling is somewhere mid-table, but how we get there, that's what we've got the next 9, 10 months to look forward to.
Absolutely, and chat about once a week, and yeah, and digest everything that happens in between. Ash, what are you most looking forward to, or what games you look most looking forward to, and have you got any worries outstanding at the moment?
Well, I think our signings we've made, I think, has made the squad stronger than what it was last year. I'd agree with Guy that we are in a space of rebuilding. My biggest concern is the away legs, the away trips we got to make at the beginning of the season. I did read somewhere by mid-September we would have gone to every single part of the country, like northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, away from home, and having games like Maidenhead, sorry, not Maidenhead, Gateshead away, followed by Truro away 3 days later, is not going to be something that the squad are going to find easy, especially if we're thin on numbers. That's my biggest thing. Is in any league you have to have a good start usually, with all those away games. If we have a good start, like if we come out the first 10 games with over, say, 15 points with all those away games, we could be onto an absolutely brilliant season. But the reality is we might start very slow, and as our players come back, build up into some good form towards the end of the season. So I think, unfortunately for Guy, it's going to be more of the latter. I think at the start we're going to be quite a slow starter, and as our players return and as we get those nice home games come back in, that you'll see us move up the table and possibly do what we did 2 seasons ago, get into that 8th to 12 bracket. I still think mid-table is very realistic for us, but it would be nice to have a promotion push. It would really be nice, but the way the squad is at the moment and the injuries we've got, the start we're going to have, I think I would take that 10th to 15th place finish now, and not be like last game of the season potentially in that bottom lot, because it's going to be very tight and very competitive if you don't get away from them early on.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and interesting you mentioned the distance and the miles that we've got to put in. Yeah, I think there was a BBC article on Truro. Obviously, they've turned professional over the summer, and obviously it was listing all of their mad journeys that they've got to do this season. And I think they said that most of the games they're going to be they're able to like go up the day before now and stay in hotels. So I think they're doing that um, before every away game. But it'd be interesting to see if Aldershot do the same. Especially, I mean, they have to for the September um, sandwich of Gateshead, Truro, and then Carlisle in there. So yeah. For me, to be honest, I've just mentioned it, but I'm most looking forward to Carlisle away because I've never been. It's obviously written into folklore at Aldershot, Carlisle, and so yeah, looking forward to going to that in September. All booked up on the train, and I've got a very general worry, which just from kind of looking at the table last year, but it's and the squad and who we've retained is not scoring enough goals to win games. I think that's probably a theme last year where we'd potentially score 3, but the other team would score 4. So
Yeah.
I think whether it's conceding less or scoring more, I'm very slightly worried. But that's a valid worry at the start of the season, I suppose, and I'm very ready to get proven wrong as we move on.
Hi, Will. Julian here. Looking forward to another season of roller coasters, ups and downs, and all sorts of things that I'm sure will happen this season too. Just thinking about what we can expect for this season. I think, in all honesty, it's going to be very much the same as before. There have been some ins and outs with regard to transfers. I am a little bit concerned about perhaps our firepower and where the goals are going to come from. We obviously did rely heavily last season on Barrett and Henry for the goals, and obviously looks like James Henry will be playing a lesser part, and if Josh Barrett dries up a little bit, then we may have a problem. But let's see the new signings, see what they do. I'm holding out for some good things from Tristan Abrahams up front, although he's talking to a number of the supporters. There's been a little bit less convincing in pre-season, but let's see what happens there. So league position, I am anticipating a little bit better than last year, probably looking at 13th, 14th, something like that. I think that's well within our capabilities. But I think from a results point of view, we will probably do the same as last year. We will probably beat the best and we'll probably lose to the worst. So very unpredictable in having to choose what games we'll win and what games we won't win. The player of the season, this is obviously a a shout out at the start without really knowing, but I think Marcus Dewhurst will be up there, and if Tetek can have an injury-free season, then I would hope that he would be in the running as well. Breakthrough player of the season. It's a bit of a tricky one, as obviously we can only go on pre-season friendlies so far, but I'm hoping that the latest centre-back signing, Mr. Jackson, with a number 5 on his back, is going to be a standout player. I'm really hoping that he comes through and shows his promise. So I would probably put him in the group of breakthrough player of the season. I think with regard to top goal scorer, it's hard to look beyond Josh Barrett for that one at the moment. Again, things may change. I can't see Hadi Gandor, although he's been on fire in pre-season, I can't see him sort of maintaining that level and scoring goals for fun. So safe bet, I guess, is Josh Barrett at the moment. As for league winner, then it looks as if there's 2 front runners in York and Carlisle, and I'd probably have to say York at the moment, which is a lazy guess, but they've made some great signings over the summer to add to what they already had. Ollie Banks has come in from Chesterfield, who I think was excellent in their promotion winning season, and by all accounts last season in League 2 he was excellent too. But also they've brought in the chap from Altrincham, Alex Kirby, who again had a great season for them, and him alongside Pearce up front I think is going to be a little bit irresistible really. So can't see much past York City for league winners at the moment.
So here we are, another season rolls around. They seem to come by faster and faster with each passing year, for me anyway. But yeah, I think maybe perhaps because we managed to achieve what we did in the FA Trophy, the season went on seemingly a little bit longer than usual. But yeah, here we go. It all starts again on Saturday up at Altrincham. Looking forward to it. In terms of what we can achieve this season and how I think we'll perform as a team, it's really quite hard to say. I think, we've obviously lost some players I think we would have perhaps liked to have kept. The likes of Jack Barham obviously going has been a bit of a blow. But I feel quite comfortable with how we've replaced him really. And I think even though results in pre-season have been somewhat mixed, I'm going into the season with a bit of confidence. So I'm going to stay. We'll manage a top half finish this season. I'm going to say we're going to finish exactly 12th, which is obviously an improvement on last year. I'd love to say that we can challenge for the playoffs. Unfortunately, I just think there's too many teams in the league now, as it seems there is every year, that just have that little bit more quality and experience in their squads. And as you know, the name of the game very much is recruitment. So I feel confident we'll score goals, always confident in that with Tommy's teams, especially with the likes of Barrett available. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 12th place finish for us this season. Hopefully a good cup run as well. In terms of player for the season, it is hard to look beyond Josh Barrett. However, I'm actually going to go out and say Cameron Hargreaves for this one. I think we all saw around January time last year he started to add goals to his game. He's played further forward in pre-season at times as well. Interested to see whether that will happen a little bit more when the real stuff starts. But yeah, I really think Cam Hargreaves kicked on in the second half of last season. I think he's a terrific player for us. Can't see him really staying at the Shots much longer if he has another positive season, and I'll go for him for player of the season just for his consistent performances there. In terms of breakthrough player for the season, it's hard to say at this stage because we really don't necessarily know who will be starting every week, and that obviously will change. But quite excited by Archie Taylor. I think from what I've seen of him, he looks like he could be a real exciting prospect. Quite dynamic, very young. Obviously, he's come from Hampton and Richmond, and he played at an even lower level before that with Westfield, I believe. So I think he can add a bit of attacking intent when he plays down that right-hand side. So I think he could work his way into the team as the season goes on. So looking forward to seeing him play a bit closer. And then yeah, shots top goal scorer. Can't see beyond Josh Barrett at this stage. I really think he's established himself as one of the best attacking players in the National League. I think on his day, there's very few that are better than him at this level. So I can't see beyond him. I would love Abrahams to come in and score more than him and be a real prolific striker. And I do think he'll be fairly consistent. But I think Josh Barrett, can't see beyond him at this point. I think he'll definitely be the main man when it comes to goals again. And then league winner prediction. It's hard to look beyond York. They amassed a really significant amount of points last season, scoring a lot of goals and playing some really good football at times. And they've really seemed to have added quite strongly as well. The likes of Ollie Banks coming in, he won the league with Chesterfield. I think he'll be really important for them in midfield, and they've already got a fantastic base squad. So I think they've got far and away the best squad at the moment. Can see the likes of Carlisle potentially challenging if everything clicks for them, but they've brought in quite a few new players on the back of a double relegation, so need to change that losing mentality. And Rochdale have obviously made some good signings as well, so I think they'll be good. A bit of a dark horse for me, just based on some of the quality of their signings, is I think Eastleigh could be quite decent this year. Can't see them winning the league, but I could definitely see them sneaking into the playoffs, although they did lose Tyrese Shade recently, didn't they? So that could be a bit of a blow for them, but they've signed a lot of players with good Football League experience, so can definitely see them being pretty strong as well. So yeah, that's all from me.
Okay, well let's move on to some predictions. We've kind of mentioned there some brackets of league positions. So these are predictions rather than, because obviously we'd all love to finish top and beat York late on down the season to snatch the title from them. But let's think along the realistic lines. Guy, what position are you going to predict? Because it's going to come back to bite you at the end of the season. Don't worry.
Well, I think that's why if you didn't hear what I said before, I said somewhere between 12 and 16. So I'm hedging my bets. But can I just also touch upon what you asked previously about which games I'm looking forward to? So I think, there's obviously the ones that we will be uh, against obviously against the clubs that are probably going to be competing for the championship and for promotion. And I would put them in that bracket, the games against York, Rochdale, Forest Green, Southend, but then I also have a couple of games I'm looking forward to personally, simply because I'll be back in the UK for that. So um, I'm really pleased actually that we've got a couple of games um, at the end of the year when I'm back for Christmas. So Sutton United away, which is great because it's just round the corner from where I'll be staying in Wimbledon. And then I think it's also Wealdstone just before the new year. Now, those clubs themselves don't really stand out for me. It's just the fact that I'll be able to watch the team. And I think I'm also coming back in August, so I'm later in August, so I might actually be able to catch them against Eastleigh. So for me, the games I'm looking forward to, the ones I can actually be there. So, but yeah, to your earlier question, between 12 and 16.
Lovely. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to stick around the same one as you, but I've gone dead on 14th. A flirt with playoffs in mid-March, safe by April. That's the perfect season for me. And then we'll probably just drop off the last three games because we've got to save legs for the FA Cup or the FA Trophy, not the FA Cup. That would be insane. FA Trophy. Next one was your prediction for Player of the Season. Obviously, I think anyone other than Josh Barrett might be a slightly left field choice, considering we don't know much about the players coming in. But Guy, what do you reckon?
Well, last year I gave my player of the season to Cameron Hargreaves simply because he was such a workhorse. I mean, it didn't come out in terms of the number of goals or assists, but he was so influential in that sort of that transition between ferrying from the back and bringing it forward. So I'm probably going to be looking for players like that. Then again, yeah, I think James Henry, he stood out for me. I think one or two of us actually had him down as, if not player of the season, a close contender. I can see him still, up there. Um, But I'm also going to go, I'm going to go left field and say, one of our new players might actually do it for us. So maybe Tristan Abrahams if he starts scoring, or Will Nightingale if he manages to bring the defense together. So those are my tips.
Lovely. Yeah, Nightingale actually, because I prepared my list before Nightingale. So yeah, Nightingale has got all the makings of a full season player of the season. Back to our yeah, since Tyler Cordner, I don't think we've had a centre back as player of the season. Ash, what do you reckon for player of the season?
I think anything outside of, as you said, Josh Barrett is going to be pretty left field. I've got a feeling that we will be relying on him for a lot of goals. But if you wanted me to go for a real left field choice, and he's done well in pre-season. He did the same last season in pre-season, did well against Forest Green in the first game, and just faded away. If he can start getting the goals through, he might be bursting onto it. So I'm going to go really left field and go Hayley Gandor as potentially someone who could get those goals. His work rate is really well. He gets in the right places. He just doesn't put the ball in the back of the net. But that's if we need a player, that's what we need. He has the potential to do it. It's going. It's just when he's going to get his opportunity, he needs to take it.
Yes, that is left field. I mean, I would love nothing more than for Hadi Gandor to win player of the season because he probably is going to have to score 20 to best. Because if let's presume Josh Barrett gets 15 in the league, and five of them are going to be worldies, Hadi Gandor's going to have to score 20 plus to snatch that player of the season, I reckon. But let's hope. I suppose with mention of him, sorry. Top goal scorer for the season. I guess Ash, are you going to go Hadi Gandor as well there for your top goal scorer?
um, well, if I'm going to go for best player of the season, Zim, he's got to be, like you said, so it has to be. But the realist will say Josh Barrett all day long. And if I'm being realistic, everyone will probably 90% of the fan base will say Barrett and Barrett. So let's stick with Hayley Gandor. You'll probably go, oh, he's had one goal, he's gone to Farnborough on loan, but let's do it.
Perfect. Yes, this is like when I think when we signed Bradley Bubb, I said we've signed a 20 goal a season striker, and that bit me on the bum as well. Guy, who do you reckon for top goal scorer?
I mean, it is hard to go beyond Josh Barrett really at this point. But the thing is, as well, remember it took, last year we had a number of different combinations up at the top as well. And I do wonder, it also depends a lot on, if people can stay fit. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm very curious to see how Abrahams fits in with the team, and if he becomes clicks well. I mean, I haven't watched any of the preseason games, so I'll defer to Ash on this. And obviously, with the preseasons, I think there was a lot of experimentation, so they only got sort of 10, 15 minutes or so at times. So we will really only start to see things from this weekend onwards. But if Tristan Abrahams can link up quite nicely with the midfield, he scored quite a lot for Maidenhead last year, despite Maidenhead's situation. So he's for me the potential goal scorer to watch. I mean, as for the other striker we've got up there, Thomas. I just he's great and he'll get goals, but I think they'll probably still keep him sort of for the last 10 minutes or so to just hold the ball. So I don't. And Gandor, I mean, if he could do it as Ash suggests, I mean that would be fantastic because he was off to a flyer at the beginning of last year, and I just really hope it works for him this year.
Yeah, and he's definitely got the work rate and energy. I
Mm.
think I mean, especially with a full preseason under his belt, I think. Yeah, in those early games when he was scoring goals, he was tireless, and almost kind of on his knees, tired kind of thing. Whereas Barham last season was kind of attuned to chasing the ball down for about 90 minutes and able to keep going. So hopefully we can see that side of Gandor's game come through because I've put him as my top goal scorer. It's more out of hope. I really hope he scores enough goals at the striker position. If he scores more than Jack Barham, then we've made the right call in keeping him. I can't remember how many Barham scored in the league. I'm going to say 12, maybe 13. So hopefully 15 for Hadi Gandor, and that'll probably set him as our top goal scorer. Um, I've looked at the next prediction is a weird one. It's ATFC Breakthrough Player of the Season, which is obviously a really hard thing to predict. All predictions are fickle. Don't believe everything we say, of course. Guy, I'll come to you first. Have you got a shout for Breakthrough Player of the Season?
Well, yeah, it's difficult because I think what's going to probably happen, it'll probably be someone that we haven't seen, probably emerging, maybe towards Christmas time, probably from the academy. So, yeah, all predictions here are just going to get ridiculously overrun. But I was going to say that for me, there's probably potentially two. I mean, we've talked about one of them already, which is Hadi Gandor. If he can, he started off really well last year and then he faded and then he went off on loan. We've re-signed, we've kept him for this year. So clearly the management sees something in him. If he can just translate that work rate into regular goal scoring and becoming a regular fixture in the team, then I think that's a potential breakthrough, even though we already know a bit about him. And I would also say probably the same. I would say probably say the same for someone like Ashley Akpan, who again had about 17 games last season, and he kind of grew up. He's the impression I had was he started playing in the first half of the season, but he slowly started to sort of make his presence known. And I thought, oh, this is a chap that's quite young. He's coming through. He's doing excellent work. His work rate was up, and then he had that terrible injury back in January or February, which just ended his season. So for me, if we can get him back and so he won't be a complete unknown, but if he does come back, I think for him, if he could get the minutes under his belt and he can stay off injury, for me he's a potential breakthrough as well.
Yes, yeah, I did actually have Akpan down for this until the injury update yesterday. I didn't realize he's had his second surgery um, on that knee. And you can see in the picture I've posted the kind of the scarring just above his the outside of his knee. So I really hope he's back and firing because I think he was becoming an asset on that right hand side in Aaron Jones's absence, and he probably has a chance to make that position his own. To be honest, we've got a depth of options in that position, but I think when he's fit, he's probably the best one we've got in that position. Ash, what about you for breakthrough player of the season?
So I had it between two. With the injury list we've got, this was the one I went for as soon as I saw the injury list, was Keane Anderson. I think he played a lot in the National League Cup. I think he started to play a little bit towards the back end of the season. Forgive me if he didn't. But whenever I've seen him, he seemed to have impressed, and he's one in the back of my mind that will step up a little bit this season, if you want to go there from like the youth perspective. And my gut feeling is at some point in this season, we're going to have to rely on a spell with Pat Nash in goal. A lot's been talked about him. I've seen him play down in Farnham, really solid goalkeeper. Also, he's been featuring a lot in pre-season against teams where they want to distribute the ball very quickly and have the keeper more as a like 11th outfield player. And they've been trialing that in the pre-season. But I do think at some point in this season, with like the amount of injuries the team seems to get, at some point we'll have to rely on Pat Nash. And he might be a breakthrough player that you never know might be one of the most positive things to come out of the season, because he's gone up in every step that he's done, and he's done really well for the clubs he's been at. And now he's our number two because of Geordie Van Staffelhoff going. There is an opportunity for him, I feel, to really prove himself in the games that he's in.
Yeah, yeah, very true. And also, to be honest, if the injuries continue as they are, he might actually be needed at centre half. If he can do a job left centre back, maybe like a Harfield. If he's good at distributing, maybe we can slot him in, get him some minutes that way. My breakthrough player, to be honest, I have nothing to go off other than Archie Taylor, because a guy at work, Rob, supports Hampton and Richmond Borough, and said, yeah, he was one of the best players that I saw last season. So I'm taking that as a man that watches a lot of football. As a Burnley fan, but goes to watch Hampton and Richmond. He knows his football. Therefore, Archie Taylor will have a great season. Great. Then we've got one final little prediction before we move on to the Alti game at the weekend. Who is our predictions for the Enterprise Rent-A-Car League winner? Only one team can go up. Guy, who do you reckon it's going to be?
Well, I'm going to go with the betting shops on this one, and they're saying York. and if not York, it's Carlisle. So I'm really interested to hear your match report from when you do that game. But yeah, I think also they did such a number on us at the end of and towards the end of last season as well. It's hard to see beyond them at the moment. So
Yes, and they have strengthened as we'll come on to because they've taken a player each from Altrincham. Ash, who do you reckon is going to win the league?
No surprise. I think it's gonna be York. I thought they were actually the strongest team last season that we played against. Maybe Rochdale, but Rochdale weren't as consistent as York. But I think this season they are going to be, if you call it the Chesterfield, the Wrexham, the team that's just going to just run away with it. Not many teams have come down and gone straight back up. I can't remember the last one who did. It might be one worth that someone might be able to interject with. But I think they might get a little bit of a rude awakening. Their first game, Carlisle, is away to Woking. Neil Ardley ain't gonna want to lose his first game at home in the season with Woking, not with the money they've spent either. So I think they're going to be in for a little bit of a culture shock at the beginning. I do think they'll be up there in the playoffs, and I think is out of those two teams really for the promotion. If I was to go for an outsider, a rebuilt, like we haven't heard much from them. They played all right last season when they came down. Forest Green might have a say because they've rebuilt and they did do fairly well last season. So they've now got used to the league and they know the league. So I think that might be where some challenge comes from. But anything for York other than promotion this year would be an utter disaster on their part, I think.
Yes, which makes it, as long as we're safe, very funny if they don't, because the amount of money that's getting pumped into York and Forest Green, if neither of those go up again, I think it'll only fuel the free up, free down debate because you'll have the voice of Dale Vince probably getting like 95 points or something. Although I can't see Robbie Savage getting 95 points. Guy's got his hand up. An interesting move there, but I like it. We can bring it in.
it's to answer Ash's question, and I mean that
Is it
said,
Barnet?
no, it wasn't Barnet. It was Cheltenham Town.
Oh, boring. And they haven't looked
Cheltenham
back.
Town relegated 2014-15, back up 2015-16. But that was ChatGPT, so let's just be
Yeah, I
careful.
think Barnet did it the season before, maybe. So maybe there was a little streak where a couple of teams did it in a few years, and then
Yeah.
nobody really tends to do it since.
But that's well, there is that's going straight back up to champions. I mean, there's been a few that have done it via the promotion, so by the playoff spot. So, and I think most recently that would have been Grimsby from a few years back.
Nice. Love that. Love that interjection. Perfect. Yeah, I went with York as well, of course. So, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see how Carlisle do. Like you say, going down to Woking first up, and they've strengthened with a player from Altrincham, who are Aldershot's first opponents at the weekend this Saturday, 3 o'clock. Altrincham lost Regan Linney to Carlisle, aforementioned. They lost Alex Newby to York. That's their two best players gone. Their goal scorers, their creative players, and Justin Amaluza has headed into the Football League with Grimsby Town, which I was a bit surprised about. So those three together contributed 42 of their 68 goals scored last season. They also lost Matt Penny, who's joined us. Only made 3 appearances for Alty and 1 more for Rochdale last season. They've had 2 seasons in a row in the top half after 3 seasons before that in the bottom half, Altrincham. I was quite interested to look at their new signings because all of their new signings are from the National League or above. So they've brought in Charlie Kirk, James Gale, Billy Sass Davis, Keaton Ward, Jimmy Knowles, and Sam Reed. They're all between 22 and 27. So I want to know how they recruit. It looks like how I would recruit on Football Manager. So I wonder if someone's just looking at a Football Manager spreadsheet and going, "Oh yeah, that fits the bill. Let's get him in." And they all sound like regens from Football Manager as well. So I only know Jimmy Knowles and Billy Sass Davis as names that I've seen on video printers, and I'm very much hoping we don't see them on the video printer on Saturday. So yeah, the last time we visited Moss Lane was a 2-1 away win, quite a bit of a surprise one. Up in Greater Manchester with Maxwell Mullins cross-come shot flying in the 88th minute for a 2-1 away win. Guy, how are you feeling about the Alty away game at the weekend?
I mean, it's the first game of the season, and as we've talked about, we've got a number of injuries. So, will we be putting out our, preferred team? Probably not. We're going to be making do. Um, if I compare it to this time last year, we had Forest Green, who had just come down from the league. So for us, it was a bit of a test as to, what is the gap, what's the distance. I mean, I suppose with Altrincham having sort of come in the top half of the table, I mean, I guess that is a good for us to see, you know, would this team that we're about to put out be good enough to reach that mid-level place that we've all talked a bit about? So, for me, I'm not too worried because it's also the first game of the season. We've got there's time to make adjustments. I think last year when we started sort of flirting with relegation, we started looking. I think we also started looking in February at sort of the number of games we had left, who we were going to play. At this point in the season, I think we can take it as a bit of a buy. So if we go up and we get a draw, I'm happy. A win, great if we can repeat that. But if a loss, I'm not too worried about either. So it's going to be for me. It feels a little bit like a continuation of pre-season.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, I do feel you with the kind of if we lose, I'm not too bothered. But if it is a 7-0 drubbing, like a kind of what was it? Was it Colchester against Norwich first game of the season? Way back when people were ripping up their season tickets. So hopefully it's not one of them. But maybe a loss where we learn a bit more about this team. As someone that's not watched any preseason, that is obviously what I'm going to say. Ash, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on Alty away at the weekend?
Quite in a similar sort of mood with it. Our pre-season's been a little bit different in the fact that we've not faced like the strongest competition we faced, arguably, is Dorking. And we've all been in that sort of away, sort of travelling form. But I've not heard much on the Altrincham part, like the signings you've said, like are that they're going to have to take time. So I think this is actually the best time to face them. Looking at our first 10 games, we kind of want to have some sort of positive result here, but I think the performance will be more important than the result. If we came out there with a 1-0 loss and we looked defensively tight and it was just the odd goal that we've conceded, we'd go, actually, we're happy here because we've got a solid defence. We're in the game, the performance is there, and they're a top half team. We can't take that away from last season. I do think we're going to get something positive there. I think we'll get the draw for the 1-1 draw to get points on the board. We've got more difficult away games coming up very shortly, in my opinion. So I think looking at the performance rather than the result is going to be the way to go. But I'm going to go 1-1 for that trip. I hope so, because I'm making that long trip up there myself.
Just moving on to the start of the season, we face a potentially tricky trip to Altrincham. They've had a mixed pre-season. They've won some and lost some, and they've had a few injury problems as well. Particularly in the centre-back positions, they had 2 trialists playing last weekend. So I'm hoping that we can take advantage of that sort of indecision. They've got a new goalkeeper as well. So it could be any one of 3 results. It could be a win for us, it could be a win for them, and it could also be a draw. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say that I think we can get a point up there for sure. They've got some danger in their attack, even though they've lost their best 3 players from last season up front. They've got a player in Ollie Crankshaw who missed the whole of last season through injury. He's back. He's going to be a really good winger come striker who will cause us problems on Saturday. They've also brought in an attacking midfielder called Kenton Ward, who was previously at Boston last year, but he has all the markings of a really good player at this level. So I expect him to be a problem for us on Saturday. But yeah, overall I would say that I think if we can get away from there with a point, then I will be more than happy with that. Thanks, Will, and I will catch up with you when we meet next. Thanks, bye.
Generally, our record up there hasn't been very good. I think before we won last season, it had been it'd been kind of like 6 or 7 times we'd visited there and always come away with a loss, not even a draw. So I think we've hopefully we've defeated that hoodoo and we can claim a hearty draw. Obviously, the interesting thing is going to be the lineup, the formation, who plays where, all things that are probably still touch and go for Tommy now. I'm not sure he's going to be settled on his starting lineup for a few weeks yet. When we play teams like Altrincham away, which is a completely different test to your Tottings. That's a kind of amalgamation of Dorking and Totten, which are National League South sides, obviously. So yes, let's hope for a win. Hope for something positive on the video printer for me and for Ash's journey up north at the weekend. We'll leave it there for this week. We've done our predictions. We've what else have we done? I don't know. We've kicked off our 13th season in the National League in some style, I think. So thank you, Guy, and thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Thank you.